Fair enough. Richard, Labor won't commit to a tax-GDP cap. Would love to get your thoughts being an economist. Do you think that's a smart move in your view?
Look, these caps are purely they're silly. I mean, they're arbitrary numbers plucked out of the air based on a sort of random point in time. As we just saw during the COVID crisis, the coalition who were elected to on the idea of a budget emergency, a debt and deficit crisis, they increased public spending quite significantly because that's what the economy needed. We need to be flexible with spending. We need to be flexible with how much revenue we collect. And of course, if this government took a 23.9% cap seriously, well, it's well and truly in breach of its own cap at the moment. So I don't think it helps policy. I don't think it helps politically to obsess about particular arbitrary numbers. So, yeah, I think it's just proof that Labor's taking the prospect of winning seriously. And for those who are worried about the size of the debt, let's be clear. There's $15 billion in stage 3 tax cuts due to start. $15 billion a year in income tax cuts. If we were worried about paying off the debt, if you wanted to pay down the government's debt, then obviously those tax cuts should be delayed. So, there's a real tension here across the board, but particularly on the Conservative side of politics. Are they more worried about the debt or are they more worried about the tax cuts? So arbitrarily capping the tax-to-GDP ratio would actually make it harder to pay down that debt in the medium term.
Alexandra, do you agree with that?
Not really. There's a lot of expensive free stuff being promised, and there's only 3 ways to pay for that. Either the government cuts its spending, which is never going to happen, or the government raises taxes, which looks terrible on a campaign poster, particularly when everyone is poor, which is what's happened after COVID. Or they go the medieval route and start stealing from the rich, but I think Adam Vance got that covered. But when I asked my social media account what people actually wanted out of politicians this year, it wasn't to do with tax. They didn't want free stuff. They wanted politicians to leave them alone. The COVID fatigue is real, and leaving people alone and going back to basics, that doesn't require a tax raise. So maybe they should consider that as a prospect instead.
We're just out of time. There is so much to discuss. Unfortunately, we can't get through it all. Richard Dennis and Alexandra Marshall, thank you so much for coming on the program this afternoon. Great to talk to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.